Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the WMP Justice Review. And tonight we are live with none other than the Hawk. Craig, you've been absent for a while. What's been going on? Bring us up to date with what's going on with you.
Well, I took a few days off to hang with the family, and we went to California and to just clear up a few.
We are having a little bit of technical difficulty with Craig's computer and
Took
his
my little.
speaker.
We
I'm sorry, Craig, we're catching every other word of what you're saying. I don't know. Let's see if we can. Let's just give it a minute to sync up and see what's going on. But yeah, your computer is freezing up a little bit. It has been a while since you've used it for a live feed, so let's see if we can keep right on going. So you took a few days off. You went to California. Spent some time with your family. Do you feel refreshed? Okay, are you wanting to relocate?
Let me relocate and I'll call you back. Can we do that?
Well, we're live right now.
It's gonna be can you hear
All right,
me?
so we're gonna you'll be able to join back into the live feed with that same link that you had. So if you want to relocate, and just join back in just a minute.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, while we're waiting for Craig to come back, let's just talk about some other things. Most of you know that I'm working with Willie Ordon Jr. and on the project South Africa, Survivor South Africa. That project is going along amazingly well. I want to thank everybody who has taken the time to do a video for us. Now, the project is to get the word out to the American people and to the U.S. government about what is really happening in South Africa. So we're working very hard on that. We're collecting videos and stories from survivors of attacks over there. It's a wonderful project, and we're going to ask Craig to weigh in on that project. I'm sure he'll be one of the ones who delivers the presentation to the Capitol building and the senators and all of the congressmen and everyone there. I'm sure Craig will be one of the ones going there. Let's just take this off, and he will be back soon. So, you know, I said in one of the videos for Project South Africa that when the election took place, and of course the ANC was reelected, we knew that we had to do something. We knew that we had to do it very quickly. We needed to change things and do something very quickly, because we knew that the minority in South Africa didn't have another 5 years. So as Craig and I began to talk and began to discuss things, an opportunity was presented to me. I had someone ask me if we wanted a TV network, and my initial reaction was no, of course. What would I do with that? And then I thought, yes, that we do need the TV network. So we are building that network right now. And we're working very hard on it to get it up and running. But we want to use it for a platform to get the word out to a broader base of people, because social media is just not getting it. While, there's news about the atrocities and the genocide and the extreme acts of violence taking place all over social media that are taking place in South Africa, it just doesn't seem to be enough. So what we're doing is we are going to get the word out at another platform. We will be going live on Roku TV, then Amazon Fire, smart TVs, the iPhone, and the Android phone. Now, Craig has relocated. Let's see if we can add him to the broadcast and get right back into, and there he is. Welcome, Craig. Let's see. All right. So
Yeah.
while you've been gone, we've been talking a little bit about Project South Africa and what we're doing. And so let's hear your thoughts on the Project South Africa, the Survivor South Africa.
Okay, so the message is to get out to the world, not to South Africa. Everybody in South Africa knows what's going on. Our message is for the United States Senate and the senators in the United States and the president. And we want this message to go out. Everybody knows that when we report, you all know we're saying the same thing you already know. We know about all the violence. We know about all the farm murders. And we know all about it. Our message has always been to get this message to the world. Our message, yes, is to you sometimes boring because you know about it. You're like, what's going on? What's going on? Every effort to get to the White House has failed. Maybe due to politics or whatever, but now we have a way that we can physically take this evidence to them and hand it to them firsthand, in their hand. They cannot deny they did not receive it. We will physically take it to them.
Wonderful.
And this survival program is raw footage from you. This is your message. There's no more lies by the politicians saying there is no such thing going on. No, this will be raw footage from the victims of the crimes, of the rape, of the murders that are family members. That is purely straightforward, your evidence. And it's not a lie. It's your evidence. They cannot deny 70,000 people dying since 94. And it's probably more than that now.
Okay. Craig, one of the other things I mentioned while you were gone was we were talking about WMP TV. Now, it is my understanding that you are working on a couple of programs for WMP TV, and one of them is called Out of South Africa. Talk to us a little bit about that program that you're going to have on the TV network.
Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to start off with a first episode on all the lies, on how the history is being rewritten by the victor. And they always say that history is written by the victor. Well, it's easy to say that the white man stole the land and the white man did this and the white man did that. I'm going to start with that first. And then I'm going to break the myth. I'm going to bring the history of South Africa in a number of episodes. And I don't care how many episodes it takes, but we're going to start right from the beginning.
Well, I think that's a wonderful approach because number one, we're trying to reach the world with the message of South Africa and how we got to where we are today. And so in order to do that, we're going to have to educate the world. While you said that the people there in South Africa, they understand it, but some of them are even confused about who was there first and who owns the land, who's the rightful owners of the land. So I think, going back to the beginning is a wonderful way to walk forward.
What do we want to do is break the myth. We want to prove that the original inhabitants of Africa were the Khoisan people of Southern Africa.
Yes.
And the Bantu or the Nguni tribes that moved north only arrived in the 1800s. In the 1652s, yes, the whites arrived and they had a small community in the Cape. They never murdered people. They never stole the land. They traded with the locals, and there wasn't the rhetoric that you hear today. And the schooling in South Africa is now trying to force this history on whoever's there, and they will believe anything. And with an education level of 25% to pass, obviously.
So, Craig, where does that storyline even fit in at that, the white men came, the white settlers came, and that's what they call them, settlers. They don't believe that they are South Africans. They call them settlers, that they were, just kind of invaded and just took over. Where does that originate from?
It's a typical political ploy to disassociate themselves in the racist comments, and it's all political. And the problem is, you cannot justify that a child born in a country, and nor can you justify 300 years, generations after generations of people being born in a country that never originated from. The white people originated from England, Holland, France, Huguenots all over, right? But the descendants of the people that are there now do not know anything about Europe. They were born in Africa, as I was. Therefore, to justify this as some sort of settlers, these people are not settlers, just as the Bantu and the Nguni tribes, the Xhosa, the Zulus, the Sutus, everybody that's there right now are also born there. And if they want to go with that rhetoric, then every black person in South Africa needs to move north too and leave the whole country to the Khoisan, because
Wow,
their rhetoric is absolutely flawed. And I challenge any political leader in the entire world to meet me in The Hague in the international courts and prove your case. You can.
Interesting. So now one of the other shows that you and I have been talking about doing is a program called Deployed. Tell us a little bit about what's your vision for that television show.
Okay, so in the United States, I went to Iraq from 2004 till 2011, and then from 2011 to 2014, I was in Afghanistan. I met thousands and thousands and thousands of soldiers, many of whom are now committing suicide. Many of them, we're losing probably one guy every 3 days.
Mm.
Now we have thousands and thousands of veterans in the United States that are being lost in the system.
Mm.
What I want to do is start with the oldest veterans. Vietnam vets, Korean vets, and even Second World War, guys that are still alive, to tell their stories.
Mm-hmm.
Any proceeds from these shows that we make, we want to help pay for the education of tradesmen. So these soldiers that are coming home from that are now unemployed soldiers, that are veterans of wars, we will help them and help companies take them on to give them trades, help them through trade schools, and give them a skill that they can continue on with their lives and make prosperous things. Also, I spoke to a general in California last weekend, and there's many veterans out there that need help, like a ramp, for instance, for his wheelchair, or they have medical bills they can't pay. And
Wonderful.
Hopefully, with the sponsorships and the advertising and the subscriptions we get from the TV shows, we can help these veterans get their lives back together so they don't feel lost, so they don't feel nobody wants them around. And we can tell their stories, a day in their lives, a day, some battle, some thing, some event, maybe they lost their best friend, or something happened on that day that they did something amazing or something incredible happened. But we'll tell their stories. We'll tell them why they went, what happened when they came home, how, give them a place to come and talk and tell us what happened. And at least somebody will have this history sitting there that they can refer to one day. Even if their children have lost this history, it's always there in a film to help them remember. And who knows, if the story is good enough, somebody might make a movie.
That's true. Absolutely true. So, Craig, you touched on something just now that I think it's just time that we clear the air. We've received a lot of criticism about the idea of having a TV network. We've even had people say, oh, they're trying to make money off of the atrocities and the people, being harmed in South Africa and their horror stories. That it's all about a money scam. So let's just talk about that and put this to rest once and for all. So WMP Justice Review is a nonprofit organization, so there is no making money off of a true nonprofit organization, and that is the owner of the TV network. However, you spoke about any advertising and proceeds from deployed would go towards helping the soldiers and the veterans and the needs, meeting the needs. What do you intend to do with the proceeds if there is advertising? If people do put ads in your Out of South Africa program, what are you going to do with the proceeds there?
Well, one has to understand there's costs involved with coming with the TV show. So after the costs are paid for, and you got to understand some of these locations are far out. Some of the people may be in different places. We're going to have to pay for this somehow. It doesn't come for free. And we have been doing this all for free for almost 2 years now. And people got to realize there is costs involved. Once those costs are done, same as USAC, it's a non-profit organization. We're not here to try and make money. I have a job, you have a job, we all have jobs. So we're doing this just to get this message out. But of the proceeds that come from that, we will help South Africa in every way possible we can. Squatter camps, retraining, bring this message to the world. If we have to take these politicians to court, we will pay for it. Somehow, some way, if we have the funding, that's exactly what we want to do. And there's, for instance, like the Steve Hofmeyr situation where they have now accused him of a racist comment, but in fact will not bring racist charges against Andile Masatama for kill a black man and kill a woman and children and their pets. They have not said nothing about him. They have not charged him, nor have they charged Julius Malema for all the racist comments that he said, and the videotapes that we have him actually admitting to the farm murders and orchestrating. So, this is such two double standards, and it will be the downfall of the ANC in the end if they continue down this road. I mean, you cannot continue. Like, for instance, this Van Dam lady lying about punching. She admits to punching a white 14-year-old child, punching him in the face because she didn't like what he had to say. Now, to be honest with you, if the kid did say some racist comment, I understand. Yes, you have a right to complain, but to physically assault a child, no, that's outrageous. And then to go on public arena and to discriminate against white people. I mean, the numerous comments that we have had on Facebook and Twitter about just kill white people. It's okay, Nobody says anything about these people. Steve Hofmeyr basically said, I pay taxes, I have a right to defend myself, and if you come on my property and you attack me, I'm going to attack you back to defend my property and my family. And if that to the ANC or whoever's accusing him or charging him is a racist comment, then they need to get their act together. Because according to the president of South Africa, he states that all farm murders and all this other stuff is just crime, then why are they torturing these people?
Yes, that's not just random crime.
Deliberate. This is deliberate crime, and Steve Hofmeyr has a right to state his case and say, these are my people, and you're attacking my people, and they could be his family, and they have a right to defend themselves. And there is numerous black people that are coming to me now and saying the same thing. They disagree with this. They realize that food is their security.
Well, and that's right. And, today we saw videos, the same video must have been given to me at least 300 times of where they had hijacked a big machinery and they were tearing up the roads, but yet a very main road that the truckers go down. How are they going to get food to their supermarkets in Joburg if they tear up the road, Craig?
It's absolutely bizarre because they've torn up the roads from both ends. And the locals are standing there cheering it on, or just standing there realizing that if they do anything, somebody will kill them.
So,
instead of the communities dealing with these idiots who are a small minority, they have now made an entire community suffer because some idiot got in a gonda and started digging up the road.
well, first of all, where are the police at? Where is the South African Defense Force? Why hasn't they been deployed to bring?
You have to understand, and it's exactly what the DA told the president of South Africa. You are being held hostage by the ANC. In other words, he has no power. He's controlled by the masses. He is controlled by the masses, and it happens everywhere in Africa. I witnessed it firsthand. Two idiots walking down the street with guns, tsotsies, young kids, constantly harassing people, raping them, killing them, doing all kinds of stuff. And one day an old man told them, I'm going to get you. And they went to that old man's house and they stole his little TV, his little ghetto blaster. Now, when he walked past that old man one day and they laughed at him, he came back with a gun and he shot them all dead. And that whole community, I was there, I witnessed it. I was working on a power line, and the whole community came out, they started clapping. But what had happened for the last 5 years before that is they had terrorized this entire community, and nobody was doing anything about it. And the old man finally had enough, went over there and killed them both.
What happened to the old man?
Nothing, because it was self-defense. They tried to attack him.
Okay.
The problem is, here's what happens. And this was in London, in South Africa, in Natal. So you got to understand, the same thing is happening now. A small group of people are actually literally attacking all the drivers now, all the trucks that are going in and out. So the food supplies are now collapsing. Nobody wants to travel. Food's going to get to a point where it's so expensive you can't afford it. Drivers are dying. They don't want to be in the trucks no more. Why would you want to go to work to die?
Agreed. So what's going to happen? I mean, how is this going to get resolved?
Listen, the Rand dollar exchange is now almost 16-1. That
What's
means
the solution?
They need law enforcement. They need a law. They need look. If the law does not prevail, you have no law.
True.
You have no law. So the problem in South Africa right now, the government is run by a bunch of criminals. You have almost the entire cabinet have been busted in this Bosasa debacle with bribery and corruption. Now, how can the president attack his own cabinet when they're all involved, including him?
So long term, what do you see?
I just saw a report. Fidelity Security, who runs all the bank money back and forth from the banks in these armored vehicles, right? The government refuses to give them weapons. They've now denied them a weapons license. The banks are gonna collapse. They're literally gonna now shut down. This basically is the nail in the coffin. If the banks collapse, that's it. Now, you got to realize Nedbank's pulling out. Standard Bank's pulling out. They're collapsing their banks down to almost nothing. That means there will maybe a main bank and that's it. Soon there will be nothing left.
I want
a government banking system like in Zimbabwe, and good luck, because your interest rate's going to be 50%.
I once asked somebody why South Africans thought that the way forward was to destroy what they had. And the answer that was given to me is that people feel like when you burn a field, the grass will grow back greener. But the people that will, once you've eradicated the minorities, the white minorities from South Africa, once they're gone, because you're killing them at an alarming rate, about 57 murders a day in South Africa. And yes, some of those are blacks. It is black on black and black on white crime taking place there. But once the minority is gone, who is left to build back up all the things that they've destroyed? The ones that are destroying, they've never built a road, they've never built a hospital, they've never built a post office or a school, and yet they're destroying all of these things. And the government is standing down. The South African Defense Force has not been deployed to put it into this nonsense. Why, Craig? Why doesn't he deploy his troops to save his country?
Here's another thing. I watched in Parliament yesterday, or the day before, a DA member stood up and said, he explained about the crime and about the farm murders, and basically put this out to the president and the rest of them. Not one person stood up to condemn the crime. Eskom fired every single engineer because they were white.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Eskom is collapsing because they have no qualified engineers. Listen, people are buying engineering degrees on the street corner from a vendor. They're buying matriculation certificates signed by teachers for 3,000 rand. They don't have to go to school. They are doing. It's so corrupted. The skilled labor that's in the country is leaving. So anybody that's educated is gonna leave. That means that their system is gonna break down because they do not have educated people that can actually function and maintain the maintenance. And here's the problem, that throughout Africa, it's one word that has failed every single country throughout Africa, except for the Middle East area. Maintenance. The word maintenance. Everybody thinks because it's new, it's going to last forever. No, because once it breaks down, you need to fix it. That never gets done.
Well, and they don't know how to fix it.
No, it's not that. They don't want to spend the money. They think new is better than fix. When fix could have been lasted forever if you maintained it right. For instance, and I won't mention names where, I saw a gas station when I was a kid in a certain homeland. Within 3 months, the male toilets had collapsed, the female toilets collapsed in the second week, and then they dug a long drop next to the gas station instead of just fixing the toilets, because they didn't have to pay for the long drop to get fixed.
You know, there seems to be no logic, and that's the common thread that I hear from everybody. There's just no logic to the madness over there.
And you know, I posted a video the other day of an Arab guy in the Arab Emirates being interviewed by Nigerians, and they asked him, why is this such a great place? And he said, we don't have industry. We don't make things. We have oil in the ground, and we only get our money from oil, nothing else. We've built fancy roads, monorails, beautiful buildings, beautiful sea resorts, made it into a money mecca. And they say, why? I said, because we have the right leader. Who thought about his people first. People first, instead of himself first. And this is what the problem is. If these politicians stop putting the money in their own pockets and riding around in the white man's BMW that they hate, stop worrying about racism, and looked at building an economy that is so strong that every single person in black and white can live in harmony together in equal rights, equal communities, whatever, right? There will be no crime. There will be minimal crime because the man doesn't have to rob to feed his family. He doesn't have to cross that line to make an easy buck when he's got a job where he's getting paid decent money.
So Craig, we saw a report come out today where Cyril Ramaphosa said to the effect that, until the land is redistributed, until there is expropriation without compensation, the white man will always feel superior. Talk to us about that.
It's political rhetoric again. 75% of the land is owned by the ANC already, by the government, not the ANC. Mm-hmm. But the government owns 75% of the land. It's literally all they're doing is playing into the rhetoric that white people are superior. Listen, we've got 500,000 white people in squatter camps. They've taken every BEE law that they can and denied white people jobs. None of these kids can get jobs. Listen, the problem with BEE laws is it's the only country in the world where the majority have control over all the jobs, and the minority are pushed to the side in reverse. Now,
this comment that I'm putting up on the scene, Craig, that is the BBEE way. Now, that was when you were talking about the gas station and with the male and female restrooms, and then they would just, build a long drop. This comment came in at that time, but it's also fitting for what's going on, what you're talking about right now.
See, the problem is what I don't understand, and they cannot justify. 1994, there was a free and fair election where the ANC was granted power by electoral vote, right? From that day. So imagine a 5-year-old born on that day knows nothing about apartheid. This is a 5-year-old. All he knows is that he comes home, there's mom and dad. Don't know nothing about apartheid. He goes to school the very next day after that election. So for 25 years, he didn't live in apartheid. He's now 30 years old. Are you going to still point fingers at a 30-year-old man or child or a woman who's 30 years old, who never grew up in apartheid? Are you still going to point the finger of racism when you've been in charge for 25 years? Makes no sense.
Well, nothing is making sense right now.
No. So even if you were 30 years old in 1994, you in your 60s, listen, those people have lived through all of that. The rhetoric is absolute nonsense. So to the point I have is, okay, what happened to all the kids from 1994, black and white, that grew up together in the same schools? Are they all pointing fingers at each other that they're racist? Or are they realizing that this is a lie? You see, listen.
Well, some of them are realizing it because we get comments from moderate blacks all the time about how they want this nonsense to end. And they're smart enough to realize this is going nowhere.
No.
You can't destroy your community and expect it to thrive.
If you do not build it, they will not come. And therefore, after a while, there'll be nothing to take. Listen, only 3%. Listen, they know, and I don't care what anybody says. I know I was there. I saw it every day. In the townships, people don't pay their electricity bill. They had to send security people in every day to cut people's electricity, and the next day somebody jerry-rigged it back up again.
I see the power lines there, and it's
so
horrendous.
After a while, there's no money coming in. So 3% of the population, which is the whites, Indians, and colored people that are honest enough to pay their taxes, except for some of the businesses that are paying, once that tax base is gone, if you've killed off all the businesses, you've taken everybody's job, who's going to pay your taxes? When you've got nearly some ridiculous amount of 6 million people on welfare, and you have no money coming in from that, come on, the logic, the economical logic of that is your country's going to collapse.
Okay. We're getting a comment here. I'm just going to put it up, but they did correct the typo. They said you are supported all the way from Perth, Australia. So welcome from Perth, Australia.
Join USEC.
Yes, that's what USEC is all about, bringing the world one person at a time.
Yes.
So
USEC, United South African Coalition. We want international support. We've got to get this message out. So all your friends, family overseas, please get them to join. We need them to support us and get this message out. This message is not for South Africa. This message is for the world. We need the world.
Yes.
We need the politicians from all these kinds. People say, who are you trying to recruit? I'm trying to recruit President Trump, Macron, Theresa May. I'm glad you're gone. Whoever's there now, yes, thank you. The royal family, they need to stand up and be counted for the descendants of South Africa. And in fact, in Natal, the cousin of the Queen lives in Natal. That is a fact. I've met her. I personally met her. So there's family of the royal family in Natal.
What happens, Craig, if some of these random acts of violence happens to the Queen's cousin?
One has to take into account politics in Europe right now. With Brexit, with the Liberals in England, the massive Muslim influx and control and the influence of that. And people do not want Brexit for that simple reason. They're trying to influx that in. I'm not talking about bad Muslims or good Muslims, but there's this liberal thing. You've got a mayor in London who is completely and utterly biased towards the Western system of government. It is radicalists in London right now that are demanding that the Queen become a Muslim, and then the Buckingham Palace needs to be a mosque. This is the rhetoric that's been going on for the last 10 years, and just now, they're going to cross a line that is very bad. Now, the British government, as usual, have a bunch of cowards in there. And I'm saying straight bluntly to the British people, what happened to you? Winston Churchill's rolling over in his grave. I'm from British.
Yes.
I'm from the Bruce. Captain John Hutt was part of my family, his cousins with the Bruce. David Livingstone's cousin was my great-great-grandfather. What happened to you people? My grandfather was one of the nominees for the Victoria Cross in the First World War in the Zeebrugge Landing. Look him up. Ernest Montgomery. His name is on that list. 42 men under fire as a medic. He was nominated. One has to understand. Yes, I agree. This American businessman goes over there and is attacked. And he's in a coma. And yet we hear nothing here in the United States.
Well, this is not the first thing recently. We've had this. We've had the college students that went over there to work at the school. There's been a couple of incidents with American citizens that have happened now in South Africa. And we have raised our travel warnings.
Arnold Schwarzenegger getting kicked in the back. The college, Florida college students that were robbed at gunpoint. To go visit a creche or a junior school. They got robbed of everything that they had, passports, everything. And there was a setup. I mean, everybody knew it was a setup. They followed them in. They knew they were going there. They followed them in and robbed them at gunpoint. They were extremely lucky not to die. The thing with Arnold, kicked in the back for what? It doesn't even make sense. And that was another setup. And now this businessman, and there's been other Italians, Portuguese, people from overseas. They're getting kidnapped and held ransom. They're following them from the airports. So it's all setups, and the problem is these are syndicate crime scenes. These are people that are planning. You look in Natal the other day. They called in a incident and the taxis, not the taxis, the ambulance arrived, and they robbed the ambulances, shot the ambulance guys, and tried to steal their cell phones and the equipment.
Yeah.
Now nobody wants to go to the townships if there's an incident. Well, who would want to go there thinking they may get shot?
Right.
I mean, one's going to realize that this is beyond even logic.
Craig, let's talk for a minute about the guns and the security companies and taking away.
Okay, so let's go back in history. Germany took their guns and they slaughtered the Jews and anybody that stood in their way. Russia took their guns, slaughtered them by the millions, more than Russia, more than Germany ever did. China, 3 times more than Russia did. Same rhetoric. Every country, look at Venezuela. They took their guns. It's communism. It's to unweapon the people. And the problem is right now, there's more security companies in South Africa with weapons than the military and the police combined.
So, in the United States, we have a right to defend our property. And, if somebody comes on our property, we have a right to defend it. We have a right to defend ourselves. That's not so for the minority in South Africa. How do they keep going? How do they deal with that?
The government's complicit in this. Listen, they've even the chief of police, Sele, they stated that if anybody shoots a robber or attacker in his house, he will be held responsible for murder. Come on.
Well,
that's literally telling the robbers, you go ahead, kill them. It's okay. I'm not going to do nothing and they're not going to do nothing because they're white. That's racism. Blatant, pure racism. And I'm saying to everybody, including black people, you have the right to defend yourself, which is a human right. Human right. Even the Bible says, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And listen, I don't care what they say. You have no right to kill a man. No right to rape a woman or kill a woman. You have no right to rape children. You have no right to kill children. And if it was me and everybody in South Africa, black and white, pink and yellow, defend yourself. They cannot put millions of people in jail. I would like to show you something. Here's a plank, and here's the cliff, and all the people are standing over here. And here's the politician, and there's not many of them. And when all these people walk off this thing, guess what happens to the politicians? Off into the cliff, right? Your problem is not the people, it's the politicians.
But how do the people deal with the situation, Craig? We get cries for help every day.
Okay. This survivor thing, you got to be brave. To the Afrikaans people, you're a proud nation. To the English, you're a proud nation. To all South Africans, you got something in you, just like me, that is kind of arrogant, kind of butt-headed, boneheaded. We boneheaded people, okay? I want you to stand up. We need these videos. And it's not for South Africa. This is for the world. This message has to get out to the world, or soon you will have nothing.
People ask me every day, Tammy, what do you do? And I tell them, about the published analysis, and I tell them about the Justice Review, and I tell them about, we're working on a genocide in South Africa, and they're like, what? They haven't heard of it,
No.
And when you look at the past genocides, when you look at Rwanda, And you know, when the American people really found out what was happening in Rwanda, and that our government, had just sat back and let it happen, let the Hutu and the Tutsis just go at each other, and there was the mass slaughtering. We were appalled. We were appalled. We were. You know, we took actions against our government. We began to speak. The American people began to speak out against our government. We were not happy with that. And, you know, I don't think that we can sit back any longer and have a sitting government that allows this to take place. Now, President Trump has passed the Elie Wiesel Act, which gives the U.S. government the legal right to declare that a genocide in any part of the world is a threat to our U.S. security. You know, and when you talk about weapons of mass destruction over there that could fall into the hands of these protesters, that could be dangerous for all of the world. And we think that the United States needs to know about this.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, too. Even when the Tutsis and the Hutus were killing each other in massive things, same thing happened in Sierra Leone.
Yes.
Aid workers went there and they injected the children so they wouldn't have smallpox and measles and all this other kind of diseases. The next day, they went there and chopped their arms off. The logic is beyond anything one can even imagine. So the problem is, the world is very slow at listening to this. That's why we have to get this message out, and we have to get it out hard and fast. I am in Facebook jail every week because I bring up what is wrong. For instance, today, the other day, there was a comment about killing white people. I said, what's this all about? How can you call this thing? I got in trouble. So guys, this is the only way I can get the message out, is you guys need to give us raw footage. Send it to this survivor thing. Send it to Tammy and to Willie Jordan Jr. Get this message out. The faster you do it, the faster we can get this into the right hands. Listen, if we can stabilize South Africa, our mission is to bring a stable environment, non-racist, non-discriminative, non-BE laws, none of that. We need a decent, logical, safe, non-racist nonsense that permeates Africa all the time. And we need to get rid of these corrupt politicians that are lying and using race as a tool to manipulate the uneducated, and then using them to the point that when there's nothing left, they'll be gone. You'll be left eating dirt. And we can bring investments. We can bring the happiness back to South Africa. When I was a young kid, people used to sing to work and sing home. They don't do that no more.
You're right. So much has changed. So much has changed. What else do you have for us tonight, Craig? We were going to talk about the U.S. government a little bit, but this video is getting a little bit too long, and so we're going to have you back on again. I know you've got some views on what's going on in the American politics and with the southern border and the military in Iran and Trump. So why don't we just have you on again to talk about those and carry on. Anything else for the South African people that they can do to help? To be safe and
guys, don't lose hope. I know it's bad. There's an old saying, it will get worse before it gets better. But for a few brave men and women,
yes,
the rest will be saved. I'm asking you to be that few brave men and women. Join us, help you.
When we take the presentation to the U.S. politicians, we will be providing the documentation of the supporters for USAC. We will be providing the numbers, and you had a petition going. All of this will be, comprehensive.
Here's another thing. Everybody that has a petition that's already finished, that's been handed in and hasn't been, you've heard nothing back, give it to us. Give us all of them.
We will take it. We will make sure that you receive the credit for it. The ones who put up the petitions, we won't claim credit for it. We'll make sure that the credit goes there. I say all the time,
we will compile it in piles, and we'll take the whole lot, one bang shoot to every single one of these guys and say, look, you cannot deny 1 million people. You cannot deny 5 million people. But that's what we need. We need your support. And guys, the survivor thing is the answer. I need you. This is going to be massive, massive. So we need you to help. And just like Tammy was saying, we will give you the credit.
Yeah, it's never about credit or competition with us. We want to unite. We want to unite South Africa, but we also want to unite with all the other groups that are trying to do some work on South Africa. So, that's the goal, the ultimate goal. We never lose, no matter what happens. We never lose track of the goal. And the goal is helping the South African people, all of the South African people.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. I'm talking to Black people and white people.
Yes.
You got to realize there's a small minority of people that are doing this to all of you. They're using the excuse of white people. But you got to realize this will affect you in the end, just like Zimbabwe. Why do you think all the people from the north are coming south? It's because there's money there. But once you cut the money off, you will be them.
We're getting comments right now, and I'm just going to put them on the screen for just we're getting offers of assistance and help, and we're going to need you. We're going to need that assistance and help. And even all the way out of Perth, Australia, we're getting another comment that help is available. And slowly but surely, the American people are starting to get a wind of what's going on tonight. Out of the blue, I was on the Rants of Izzo Mojo radio station, Mojo 50 radio station. We were talking about South Africa because he had seen a news article about President Ramaphosa had posted about the land reformation and bringing equality to the area. And he wanted comments about that. And so little by little, the word is getting out there. We're trying to ramp that up and speed that up with the WMP TV. And but it is taking us a little while to get that together. Marcy Hernandez, another one of the followers of the WMP Justice Review, has posted a comment that the solution is love, not hate. And somebody has got to be the person that is going to do the right thing, even if everybody else is doing the wrong thing. I live by a model that my motto is to always do the next right thing. Even when something's going on, I have to say, well, what's the right thing to do in that? And if we could get, start a movement over in South Africa to love, not hate, to always do the right thing in a situation, little by little, we could change this country for the good.
So I spoke to, talking about that, I spoke to Outlaw Radio the other day.
Yes.
And there's members of the ANC that were on the reses out here in the United States, and they went to the Navajos, they went to the Apaches, they went to the Nez Perce, they went all over. And they were trying to recruit the Native Americans into supporting their land reform. And they were extremely, we laugh about it, but they were extremely lucky to get off the Apache Nation because they wanted to kill them. From what I heard, they were lucky to leave there with their tail between their legs. They didn't want them there, and they told them, we're not interested in your nonsense. We don't belong with you lying. And they kicked them off. Now, we heard that in Australia, they're trying to do the same. If anybody has information on that, please contact me.
Well, it's an old agenda. Is in order to make what we're doing look right, we have to get other countries to do the same thing. I'm just gonna put it bluntly. That's played out. That's played out.
It's old, and it's a federal. It's a it's a federal offense for what they did here in the United States. I don't know about Australia, but in the United States, it's an offense to incite a sedition, and that's exactly what they were trying to do here in the United States. It's a federal offense. So we're trying to locate who these guys are, and it's probably if the authorities take it on, it could become an international incident. But besides that, if anybody in Australia has any information regarding that, please let us know. Like I said, everybody, but for the few brave, I don't give up hope. I need you guys to fight. The biggest thing is get us these videos, get us this information, get us the petitions, get us the raw footage. We need raw. We don't need somebody's reports on the news. We need your footage. We can't use news.
That's right. And a lot of people are going ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
A lot of people are going ahead and creating a video and then they're posting it to their Facebook and their social media, and that does us absolutely no good. And the reason for that is the American government could deem it false news because it's out there on social media. So we're asking to present to the U.S. government information that is confidential, that you have told in confidence to the American government, and we will present it to them. And only after it has been presented to them would we, say, yes, now you may post it on social media. But the American government needs, like Craig says, the raw data. You just need to tape your story. Anything else, Craig?
Just bluntly tell it like it is. Not put it on social media. Send it to us. Once it's, like Tammy said, once it's being clarified, put together in a big form, then when we've presented it, then we'll use this information as on the TV show, or we'll get it out in the media, and we will invite all media outlets throughout the whole United States in the end to see this, what we're doing. We will force them to see it, and we'll have a with us.
They certainly can't put us in WMP TV jail. It doesn't exist.
Exactly.
And that's another reason for the platform, because we see the double standard on social media platforms. We see that, blacks are allowed to call for the killing of whites. Whites are not even allowed to expose the blacks calling for the killing of whites without suffering repercussions. So the TV network will provide a solution for that too.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, we're going to sign off for tonight. One of the things that we want you to notice is, even though Craig is in Facebook jail, here he is, because when we're determined to do something, we find a way to get the job done. So we can work around many of the things that many of the obstacles they put in our way, because that's what USAC does.
Hey guys, just hang in there. We're working on this, and don't give up. And to everybody in South Africa, there is a better way. There is a better way than what is happening.
Absolutely.
Right. And crime is your biggest problem. Crime and corruption. If you've got corrupt politicians and you have crime, you'll never fix the problem. You have to get rid of the politicians that are criminals.
Absolutely. We're going to sign off for tonight, and we'll be back soon with Craig as he talks to us about American politics. See y'all later. Bye-bye.